Hello, welcome. This is going to be like the first YouTube video on my channel that you can see. So for all of those new viewers out there, welcome. I am about 3 years post-top surgery, and I'm nearly 4 years on testosterone in a few months. So I actually did previously have some videos on this channel about my transition that I made very, very, very early on. I eventually privated those videos for now, so only I can see them. The reasoning was I think I was kind of embarrassed that I had those videos up, and also as time went on, I just didn't really like having clips and videos of me so early on in my transition out there in the world, even though almost no one was watching. But yeah, so for this video, the sake of this video, I'm not going to be showing any pictures or clips of me early on in my transition. That's just not what I want to have out there on the internet. But yeah, I will talk a lot about my experiences though, and I will try to give a big summary of my transition in these several minutes that are going to happen. Um, and maybe in a future video I will go more in depth. Um, so yeah, at this point in my transition, I know I'm still only a few years in, but I seriously don't think about being. I don't think about the changes that are happening very much these days because not much is changing from day to day or like month to month. I'm kind of at my transition so far. I don't know which way this is going to appear on camera, but imagine left to right. The first year was a lot of change. Second year was a lot of change as well. Third and fourth year is just kind of evened out for me. Um, I would say that the most amount of change that I had on testosterone were in the first year and a half. Um, and I will describe it to the best of my abilities. Basically, I have always used testosterone injections. I began on a dose of about, I hope I'm getting this right, but about 50 milligrams, yeah, 50 milligrams of testosterone every 2 weeks injected into my leg. I've always done my own injections, and injecting myself has never been a problem. Actually, when I first injected myself, the nurse who taught me how to inject told me I was the fastest person to learn how to do that. It took me about 2 minutes, which I'm kind of proud of, and I'm very happy that I'm not super afraid of needles, but I feel for the people who do have a big needle phobia and aren't able to use gel. Um, Anyways, I'm going on a tangent. When I first started my testosterone, the first thing I noticed, the very first symptom, well, maybe I shouldn't say symptom, I was never sick, but the first sign of changing was definitely my skin, which got very oily. Very, very oily, like the first night. Was like the oiliest I've ever felt my skin. I think my body was just adjusting to it. It was a big change. Ever since that night, I've never had such oily skin at once, but I remember I was so oily, and I was also really sweaty the first night. It was weird. Um, and it was not even a warm night. Pretty much, the first 3 months I was on that dose, and I had some changes, not that much, but I think my face got a little bit more masculine. I started to grow a tiny, tiny bit of hair on my belly, and no voice drop. So honestly, the first 3 months, my body was adjusting to it, and and I had a little bit of bottom growth starting right away. Those were the big changes. I spent so much time Googling, like, what would be my changes, and I was like so fixated on how I would change, how quickly. But honestly, it all eventually happened. Luckily for me, after 3 months, I doubled my dose. I got my dose doubled by my doctor to get my hormone levels in the right range because I started out on a smaller dose and then it got larger because that's how my doctor likes to. My doctor sort of like to ease people into it, so to speak. with the hormones. So once I doubled my dose, that is when things started to change a lot quicker. Um, my voice started to drop at the 3 month mark. It was very high, and then it suddenly went lower. I can't remember how quickly my voice dropped, but I want to say around month 7, I think my voice was close to this. Maybe just sort of petering to the very bottom around month 7. That's when it was like settling. But my voice kept changing over time. I don't like listening to my voice that much, anyways. I had voice dysphoria before I started testosterone. Nowadays it's better, but I still don't really like how it sounds because it makes me clockable, honestly. Or maybe that's just all in my head. Um, but I do worry sometimes that people can tell that I'm trans because of how my voice sounds. But that could just be in my imagination because I don't think because a lot of cis people honestly don't realize that I'm trans nowadays. Um, but yeah, my voice started petering down and settling around 7th month mark, and also around the 7th month mark. That's when I really started to pass as male. Now, um, like, I won't be getting into my gender identity right now, um, but let's just say everyone, maybe that's a different video, but everyone started to read me as male around the 7 month mark when my voice was lower. But I honestly have to say, I looked androgynous still, in a way. My body did. Because my fat distribution was still working itself out. My face looked very androgynous, kind of in the middle, in my opinion. Um, and but that's around the time when people who I first met started to gender me with he, him pronouns very consistently. Of course, every so often people would like say she, her, or something like that. Or I would go into a bathroom and like I would go into the male bathroom and then the guy would like go outside a little bit, check the sign to make sure it said male, and then come back in, but wouldn't say anything because in some ways from a distance I could still maybe look like more feminine in some ways. I hope this is making sense. Um, but that was around the 7th month mark. I'm really breezing through this. I'm trying to remember what other things happened. I started to develop facial hair very slowly. I still don't have very much facial hair. It's very patchy. I'm not looking to grow a beard, but it's slowly, consistently grown in over the past almost 4 years. I can't tell you when it started or when it really picked up because it's always been a consistent, very minimal amount. Over time, maybe after about a year, I noticed that my eyebrows were thicker. And over time, I realized that there was more hair growth everywhere, specifically on my stomach, on my back, other places too. But yeah, that's just honestly kind of like not a big deal to me. After a year or two, well, after 1 year, I passed as male consistently, but I still looked very young. I looked like a young boy or something. And then around 2 years, then I looked a little bit older. So this whole time I have looked pretty young, and now, after almost 4 years, I think I'm finally starting to look not like I'm like 17 or something. Um, and the reason for that, I think that I'm looking a little older. Maybe it's the fat distribution, maybe it's my face, I don't know, but I'm getting the hair receding. The hair is receding. I noticed my hair receding a lot around the year 3 mark. This is typical in my family. And basically, yeah, I don't mind it too much actually, but it's a change for sure. I'm not gonna go. I know a lot of people on T do go on to like medicines to keep their hair in. Like I think one of them is called like minoxidil or something. I don't intend on doing that, honestly. I don't really mind the hair receding. It brings me a little bit of joy, honestly. I mean, I personally don't want to go fully bald, but also I kind of feel like I wouldn't mind it too much. Like from this point of view, right, who I am right now. Maybe that would change in like 5 or 10 years, but personally, I'm like okay with where my hair is going. Um, I'm trying to think of other things that have happened. Muscle. I have. I'm very skinny, generally, as you can see. Um, for some people, starting tea gives them a lot of muscle, or maybe they are already going to the gym a lot and then they suddenly gain more muscle. That is not the case for me because I was never someone who lifted weights. Um, I'm kind of more. I've always been sort of a more endurance athlete, doing a lot of cardio, and so I've always been kind of more scrawny. Um, but I will say that when I was on, when I did first start, I noticed that because at the time I was doing a lot of swimming, and I did notice looking in the mirror, and it's not like that anymore, but my arms did look noticeably stronger within a few months, even though I wasn't changing my amount of exercise. So that was really cool, honestly. But no, I don't think that tea has increased my muscle mass. So, yes, I think I covered everything. All of the changes. Oh, one more change that's been really annoying. Acne. I've had acne ever since I doubled my dose at 3 months. This is probably the biggest change that has bothered me. Actually, the only change that has really bothered me a little bit. It's been inconvenient, to say the least. Um, Basically, after I raised my dose at the 3 month mark of testosterone, that's when I started to see acne. It wasn't too bad, honestly, for several months, and then I got top surgery, um, and then that made my acne really, really severe because I didn't shower for like 2 weeks because of the surgery, and because I think my body was just going through it at that point, um, for like a few weeks because it was recovering from the surgery. And that was really, honestly, annoying, um, and kind of was difficult for my confidence, to have a full face of acne. Really, really intense, for like several months, actually. Then I ended up going to my doctor and I got prescribed some acne medication, which I should have done a long time ago when I first started to see the acne. My acne significantly improved, but it took about 5 months for that to happen. Um, so yeah, that was really, honestly, that has been really inconvenient to deal with. But nowadays, it has been better. It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. And I think it was just a mixture of my hormone levels, my testosterone levels being too high, um, and also just the stress of a lot of things happening at once. Not only with my body recovering from the surgery, but also just like that was like that time of my life was just there's a lot of change and stuff going on. So I guess I will talk now about my top surgery experience and my top surgery journey. The experience of getting the surgery was, not terrible, not as bad as I thought it would be. For me, it was not extremely painful. And I guess I was really lucky because I know other people who've gotten top surgery and they have had a very different experience than me. But for me, personally, woke up after the surgery and I remember being very, very tired. And then I remember my chest just feeling super duper like sore, not in an intense way, more like really just tired muscle soreness. Like, sort of the way I described it to people at the time was it was like running a marathon, but with my chest. Like, the amount of muscle fatigue that comes with running long distance races, and feeling it the next day was that level of fatigue, but on my chest area. At the time, that's how it felt to me. I was prescribed a lot of pain medication before the surgery, but I never ended up using any of it because the pain wasn't that bad. I took a Tylenol every day for about 3 days, and then I stopped taking Tylenol, and that's all the pain medicine I needed. I was very lucky that it wasn't that painful for me. I wore sort of a compression sort of like vest thing for 3 weeks, and then I got it off. I did have um, one complication with like the drainage tubes. If you don't know, there's like tubes put in for a lot of people who get surgery. And I had those, and I had some issues with them, and I'm not going to go into the details because it's a little gross, but I had a little bit of issue with that. So I had to revisit the doctor's office after like a week. They fixed it. It was not painful, it was just gross. During that time that I had the chest vest, I ended up not, I couldn't shower really until like 2 weeks after the surgery. And I had to wear the vest for 3 weeks. And the not showering was really gross and irritating because I just felt really gross. And the compression vest smelled kind of bad. But I got through it. It was fine. Um, at the end of the day, I think that I'm really happy with the shape of my top surgery. I think my surgeon did a really good job. I'm happy with that. The only thing I would say, well, there's a few things that I will keep private that I'm like about my chest. I'm not going to show it. And there's like certain things about it that I'm like not going to talk about. But basically, my top surgery results weren't like perfect. They weren't what you would probably see on a YouTube video about top surgery, where like there's probably like you've probably seen them online. There's another trans person and they like take off their shirt and it looks like they didn't even have top surgery, or like their surgery scars are like super duper thin, or you can't see it, or like it's just like after like a year you can barely tell that they had top surgery. And that is not the case for me. I knew this going in because I know that for me, I scar in a different way, or I'm very prone to hypertrophic scarring, which means the scars that I do have on my body are not super thin, but they are like kind of raised and they're thick. I knew that this would happen, so I wasn't super disappointed that when it did. But yeah, I just want to say I'm not one of those like perfect results that yeah, I'm not one of the perfect results that you might see online. And there's, I think, quite a few trans people out there that don't have perfect results. Maybe most of them. I don't know what percentage, but I think a lot of the people who talk about top surgery and show their top surgery results are generally the people who show their chest are generally the people who are really proud of their results and they had really good results. But there's a fair amount of people where it's not looking perfect. I just want to throw that out there. Like, yeah, I don't have a perfect chest. It's very, very clear I had surgery if I take off my shirt. But personally, it does not affect my life, really. Yeah, it is a little bit of an inconvenience because sometimes I want to take off my shirt, run around the beach and everything, but I don't want to be clogged instantly as a trans person. So I always wear my shirt when I'm in the beach or at the pool or something. Other than that, though, like, I'm very, very, very grateful and I'm very happy that I got top surgery. And I know I talked for a few minutes about my scars not being perfect, but I just want to set the record or just like say very clearly that I'm extremely grateful that I got this surgery. I was very lucky that I got it and that my insurance was able to cover it. And I'm, no matter what my results were, I'm just like very, very grateful that I got it done, because after having that surgery and healing from it, my chest dysphoria is eliminated, and I am pretty happy with it. So, the actual process of getting approved for the surgery took about a year, but once I got the surgery, I kind of I healed from it, and then after maybe a year or two, I sort of stopped thinking about it. I don't really think about the fact that I had surgery very much. I mean, I noticed how my chest looks nowadays. I've noticed my scars, but it's just like it's not something I look at and I think, "Whoa, I got surgery." It's more like, "Oh, that's how I look now," because I that's just like I'm happy with my body now, um, like in terms of dysphoria, and I'm pretty happy now being 4 years on T. Um, my life now, after this long of being on T, and being post-op, is pretty good. Honestly, I don't think too much about my medical transition. I think I like when I was before doing this video, I like almost like lost track of how long I had been on T. Instead of counting them every single month now, I just kind of like do my shot. It takes about 10 minutes and I just forget about it until 2 weeks later. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I've been talking for a long time, and I hope it was not boring. I might do some more videos about what life is like as a trans person now, or maybe some other videos. I just sort of wanted to talk about this somewhere um, now that I feel more comfortable, and now that I feel more comfortable about where I am in my transition. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe or like this video if you enjoyed it. Yeah, so thank you. Goodbye.